Welcome in, Dog fans. I am Coach Hayes, and you've reached Coach Hayes Hudl, where I connect fans to the fundamentals of football. We were able to get out of Jordan here. I don't know why they call it Jordan. It's spelled like Jordan. They got two mascots. They're so messed up. It's always nice to go play at Jordan Hare Stadium and come out with a win. We got a lot of things to talk about tonight. I'm glad you're with me, so stick around.
Georgia Sports Autographs is built by collectors for collectors. They know what fans want because they've been in your shoes, hunting for that perfect piece, the right signature in the right spot. At every signing, Georgia Sports Autographs make sure it's done right, using the proper ink, following best practices, and paying attention to every detail so you end up with a product you'll be proud to display. They've already worked with many of Georgia's top athletes, and their network gives them access to just about anything you can imagine. If you don't see it listed, don't assume it can't be done. Chances are they can get it for you. Georgia Sports Autograph tests themselves with every event, always improving, always delivering for the ultimate addition to your collection. Trust the team that treats every autograph like its own. Georgia Sports Autographs, where every signature tells a story.
Can't thank you enough for joining me on a Monday night. It's been crazy as we've gone through this past week into this week and sort of preparing for what was going to happen in when we're dealing with the Auburn Tigers, the War Eagles, whatever they call themselves. You know, I sit there and think to myself as we go to this stadium and play, I really felt preseason this would be one of the games that would really test us to see what we were made of as a team. We didn't realize that we were putting the plane together as it seemed like we were trying to land it through the first 5 ball games, especially as we've gotten into SEC play. I really feel like that we had an understanding going into this game of Gunnar Stockton having two of the most hostile environments that you would ever think imaginable to start his actual career as the starting quarterback for the University of Georgia, and to have to go into Neyland and get a win, and to go into Jordan Hare Stadium and get a win, and both happened. You know, I know there's all of this juxtaposition from Auburn fans, from Georgia fans alike, from the SEC officiating that took place, and we know how horrendous that was. But what I see from this team is resiliency. What I see from this team is something that allows me to know as a coach and the perspective of a coach that you play for 4 quarters. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and say this. Parity in football is not going to allow us to see the teams that we saw in the 2021 and the 2022 season. There is no doubt in my mind that we are not going to see these kind of teams anymore. The stakes are even. And now what we're seeing are more of these sort of phone booth fights. And that's what it's going to be, especially with a team that's young like we are, that's trying to grow and get better each game. You know, as part of my segue into this segment, this is called the Head on the Swivel, and this is part of my what I do to extend out to Dawgs Central with Graham Coffee. I do what's called a Head on a Swivel. So what I do is I take different parts, and I would love for you to check that out on Dawgs Central as part of my contributions of what I do for their platform, is to give you my sort of 2 cents worth on what I feel like each personnel grouping did and what we could see do better and what we saw good. And in this perspective, what I see from the totality of this game is that everybody really wanted to focus on the defense, you know, and I made notes from this, and this is what I basically sort of simulated for the fans that were out there. I'm definitely going to talk about the game itself. We got some breakdowns to do both offensively and defensively. I want to show you that as well. But I really wanted to take the time to go in and just show you my thought process for the defensive side of the ball. So, you know, to get it off your chest, we have been beating our chest for the last 2 weeks that Glenn Schumann needs to answer for his sins, it seems. We don't realize how good we've got it, guys. And unfortunately, the abilities of what we had in that defense from 2021 and 2022 is not the same defense that we're coaching now. I'm going to tell you this, watching film, I know without a doubt there was 5 coincidental situations where we actually brought a blitz and an extra man, a 5th and a 6th man pressure, and Auburn threw it right where the blitzer removed from. Is that coincidental? Is it bad luck? Who knows? But that's sometimes the difference of when you blitz someone, you have to pay for the blitz. And unfortunately, in those case scenarios, Auburn took advantage of it. I know 3 specifically where we brought the nickel, where we brought the weak side linebacker, where we did an X stunt and brought a 6-man pressure with a double mug look with the mic and the money both coming, and they threw it exactly where we left from. So kudos to Auburn for taking advantage of us on those situations. I do know that we have an issue to look at to the weak side, the jack side, when you've got a team that wants to run what's called a power Q. I'm going to be talking to you about that as well. But uniquely, I sit here and think to myself, I wanted to get into the chat before I started talking. They were generational defenses. When you look at it, I was sitting here looking at those were generational defenses. Without a doubt, Dog 85, they were. And that's the thing about it. We've got to relax when it comes to these kind of games. I don't think people understand how important it is to win games the way we're winning them, because all that's going to do is build the integrity of your football program. You're going to have, I call that growing roots. You actually root into the ground. And you have kids that have been there now and dealt with that adversity and to deal with the comeback that is in them. And that's why you play 4 quarters, and it's why you play for every inch. People don't realize that this game is a game of inches. And in this case, on Saturday night in Auburn, there was a play that was a matter of inches. The difference of those inches, all right, can win or lose the ball game. And to me, that was the pivotal point, all right, that created the difference in where we came out in the second half ready to go, and Auburn was still resting on a play that completely decimated them. They never could get over that. They never could overcome that. They saw it in their coach. You saw it when they interviewed him at halftime. He was distraught. He was so irritated, so upset, and willingly so. He acts like he's the only person ever that's had a bad call made against him for the SEC officiating crew. Let me take you back 1 year there, big dog. All right, let's think about Texas last year in the water bottle incident, where they completely tanked on us after the water bottles were thrown, and they threw the biggest hissy fit known to man. All right. And not only did they not do an unsportsmanlike for Texas fans being the way they were, throwing the fit they were, they completely rebuked the call and turned it against us and said that the play never happened, basically. It was like it never took place. Did you see us sit on that, feel sorry for ourselves? No, we went on to be the number 1 team at their home stadium that night. That's what you've got to do. You cannot allow the refs to become part of the composition of what you're trying to do, because regardless of the fact, you still had a whole nother half to play, and you didn't come out in the second half and execute. 50 total yards of offense when realistically 25 of those 50 yards were in the last series where we're just playing basically prevent, just trying to keep everything in front of us. And, that just goes to show that you basically laid down at halftime. There's no doubt about it. But I'm still going to go back to what I was talking about a while ago. And I wanted just to hit on this head on the swivel concept. And, Glenn Schumann needs to answer for his sins. It's 1 week people want to fire Kirby. 1 week they're going to fire Schumann. 1 week we're wanting to fire Dante. 1 week we're wanting to fire T-Rob. You don't realize how good of a coaching staff that we have, and they are coaching these kids to the best of their abilities under the protege of Coach Smart. Coach Smart oversees everything defensively, guys. There is no doubt, no matter if Schumann is making the calls through the headset, Kirby hears them all, and he's basically confirming everything he likes to see, and there's not execution taking place. So if there's someone that you want to really hit on, we got to hit on Coach Smart. But, honestly, the way I look at it is a team like we have with the youth in the different places that we have it, I think it's becoming such a natural tendency for us to grow as the game goes along. And that's why you see us adaptively get stronger, get better, get highly reactive, and do their job as the game goes on. But anyway, honestly, all defensive coaches need to be answering, because the difference of the first and second half looked like 2 different teams. From experience, I can say that is hard for a young team, which we are in snaps, to come out and dominate out of the gate. I don't understand why we've got the slow first halves. It's like we're trying to read and put together a Rubik's Cube, and we're just trying to troubleshoot some things. And, Coach Smart talked about that they came out some things that they hadn't seen and prepared for. But you know what? There's OCs out there that do that all the time. They're going to create a wrinkle for you because you've been watching film and prepping for everything on film from the previous 5 games. It's understandable that you're going to have another play that is you're not going to see, and you got to set up and adjust to it. What I noticed was a lot of pre-snap motion, which creates a lot of eye candy for eye discipline to go out the door. But it's set up in a lot of ways where we still saw, I think, plays that they've been watching all year long. And honestly, the pre-snap motion is what was causing more issues for eye discipline and being out of position. These coincidences definitely will make you scratch your head because, like I said, I think Auburn took a lot of advantage on some of the blitzes we gave. They brought where we brought the blitz from, that's where they threw to. They would get a mesh, and the underneath mesh right where Raylan Wilson left from on the blitz is where they throw to. Things like that. I have noticed a tendency, though, if we get a gap scheme to the jack side of the field, all right, it doesn't seem to be as bad into the boundary, but in the wide side of the field, one of the plays we were struggling with was the what's called a power Q read, where you have two plays developing. You are unblocking, you're not blocking, you're reading our end, and Quintavious Johnson is squeezing down. And when he squeezes down, it's an automatic give. For the first two times we ran it, it was an automatic give because we were running it to the jack side, and the jack's responsibility on the down is to squeeze the down to take on the guard. So it's an automatic give. They're not blocking Quintavious. They're reading him. And then, unfortunately, to that side, there's no hole defender. There's no force flat defender, except if you're in a cover two, it's your cornerback. So here's Dalen Everett. All right, out there on the island as a cover two cornerback trying to come in and take out the kick out block in space and causing issues with not being able to set the edge. And then you got a safety coming down from way too deep to try to get there. And that play gashed us multiple times in the first half. So that's something that's really tough to think about. Now, did they catch us in a situation where we don't have a whole defender to that side? You know, cover one and cover four will solve that. But I think the two times they ran it, cover two was what they were in, and that caused us some serious issues to the weak side. But anyway, that was part of my deal there for the head on a swivel. But, you know, in the second half, it's almost like a light switch clicks on, and the difference of our guys moving in space, running around, pre-snap alignment, all of a sudden looks solid. I do know this, when I watched them run the power Q read in the second half, they ran it to the strong side. They didn't run it to the jack side. And they only ran it twice in the second half, and both times they ran it to the strength instead of away from the strength. So I don't know if that was something that the offensive coordinator didn't see differently, but I know this. If I catch you in a cover two to the boundary, Georgia's defense anyway, I'm going to run that power Q read because you have no force contain. You have no pitch contain except for a corner. And to the wide side of the field or to just the middle of the field, that's a lot of space, a big gap to condense by a cornerback trying to come up and make a play to be your force flat defender. You know, when I think what I had there, let's see, regardless, this team is going to fight you for 4 quarters. And for the record, every game we play is going to be a dogfight. We're not winning games by 40 points anymore. And as a fan, we need to accept that. I'm just glad that we are growing each game and showing constant improvement, which overall helps the cog of the mechanism get better, which is, example, the total defense. You know, everybody was really hitting me hard as I was driving home. I was at a function on Saturday night, and I didn't get a chance to actually watch the first half of the game, but I heard about it all the way home as I was driving. And I noticed when I got home, and obviously I got to see the second half, which was much better for the Dawgs. I watched that first half of the game, and I really didn't see anything that just was glaringly bad. I saw Auburn take advantage of our blitzes. I saw us take advantage of when it came down to that power Q read on a couple of plays. But for the most part, when we needed the big play, we still didn't make it. It was they needed 7, they got 8. Okay, we were bending, not breaking. And, of course, when it came down to it, the ultimate play design that changed was when we were on the 1-inch line and we're able to knock the ball out where Jackson Arnold is trying to take the snap and move. The ball is moving before Raylan even hits it the first time. If anything, I think you look at it from a perspective of they should have given Georgia the touchdown on this. If you really want to go all out and say it, they should have scored. It should have been 7 points for Georgia, because it was a fumble on the 1-inch line. You know, I can go back to Missouri back in 2022 and think about a play where this running back from Missouri takes off on a long run. And you got a guy by the name of Malachi Starks that chases that kid down and tackles him on the 1-foot line. There's something about those inches in the game because Georgia went on after a false start penalty, stopping them on third down and allowing them only a field goal to win 26-22 in Columbia that day. Guys, this game means so much. And as a coordinator, as a coach, you can never let your team see you defeated like they saw Hugh Freeze defeated at halftime. And probably that same vibe he brought into the locker room. And it just permeated in that locker room. And they festered on that. And they didn't circle the wagons and say, it's going to be okay. We've got to rally around this and we got to go out and play good football in the second half. They sat there and just let it fester, and it got worse and worse and worse. And anybody who was an Auburn fan knows that because they want to sit on the laurels of, well, it's the ref's fault. You know, you call the timeout issue versus the clapping situation. That had no meaning whatsoever really in the game whatsoever. There were plenty of things that happened on both sides of the ball. And by God, I know Georgia is just as likable to get those kind of calls and have gotten those calls. And the difference to me that what makes us different now is we don't let calls like that change the outcomes of games. We had a lot of bad things go against the Alabama game, but by God, we're fighting tooth and nail all the way down to the end to lose by 3 points. We don't let those things happen to us. And you could tell Auburn laid down at halftime. It was evident when they came out in the second half. But that is my head on a swivel piece, just something that I wanted to talk about from the defensive side of the ball. There are a lot of good things that are happening on the defense, and I know a lot of people say, well, I don't see that. All I see is this first half. It looks like we're just this porous membrane that allows anything and everything to go through. Guys, they're attacking. They're learning, adapting, because defenses have to be somewhat of an amoeba. You have to adjust and figure out what they're doing offensively. Coach Freeze gave them a lot of different bastard formations where they're lined up with people covered up and then switching over from trips 3x1 with nubs. I mean, there was all sorts of weird formations. But all of a sudden, you get to halftime. The biggest halftime adjustment is those coaches going in there and saying, listen, this is what we're getting. When they do this again, this is how we're going to line up and this is how we're going to fit. And I'm going to tell you, we watched a different team in the second half. Would we love to see that same team in the first half? Yes. But guess what? That team is going to improve and get better where you are going to start seeing 3 quarters put together, 3.5 quarters put together. Those kind of things are going to start happening. Okay. And if they don't, then the team's just better than we are and we can't adjust to it well enough to. Their Joes are basically beating our Joes. Okay. But great discipline from Coach Smart and his crew, taking those guys in halftime and coming out with a sense of urgency to do what was right and basically score after the field goal. Because, I mean, heck, they could have given us the 7 points, but they made us work for it. We had to go down and kick a field goal right before the end of the half on their stupidity because they're so upset with what's happened. They're committing stupid penalties, helped us down the field to kick the field goal to then go on to the unanswered 17 points that we scored in the second half. Now, when I sit here and I look at the offensive players, these are some guys that really stood out to me, not necessarily are something that, were the biggest stat guys, but something that I wanted to talk about just to hint on because of, people ask these questions throughout the game, like what's happening with this person or what's happening with this person. And so what I wanted to show you here is this. Let me get to the chat here real quick before I move into it. I got Dog 85. They are freshmen and sophomores. Our great Ds were seniors and juniors. They are all playing well and not quitting. And I'm going to tell you what, you make a good point there because I would rather have that than a bunch of prima donnas that think they're going to go out every week and just be your starter and you get half-ass effort out of them. I would rather have young and hungry kids that are fighting for a position. And that's the reason why you're seeing all these different rotations that we're seeing. Something that I really appreciate from these young guys. I think it's something that's very important to understand as we move forward. I got Casey over on Facebook. My man, keep this content coming and go Dogs. Good to see Casey. Casey and I coached together at Lafayette. Great kid, and loved watching him coach those guys, and definitely a lifelong friend and definitely a Dog fan. So I appreciate you being with me tonight, Casey. Thank you, brother. But here's the guys. As much as you want to look at Gunnar Stockton and say, well, he can't make the layered throw, okay? What I do notice is that he's beginning to improve in some of those other places that we talk about. He's stepping up in the pocket. He's buying more time. He's beginning to look up and find receivers down the field when he gets put into the scramble drill. Okay? Those are improvements from where he was at just week 2, week 3. The one thing that I would love to be able to see him get better at is to make those throws where he missed them to the tight ends, where he missed Delp and missed Lucky. But there was also some good throws that he made as well. where he did step up in the pocket, gain some depth off the play action so that he could see the field and be able to deliver an accurate throw to his receivers. There's good things about him. Not only does he have the 6 passing touchdowns, but he also has 6 rushing touchdowns. He has 12 total touchdowns, and that's something that complements so well. I don't think people realize that Josh McRae, when we were in basically the shadow of our own end zone after the fumble play, Josh McRae's run was because that Gunnar Stockton has the ability to run the football to pull it off zone, and he held the linebacker long enough into his track so that Josh McRae could bounce it and get outside for that long run that got him out of the shadow of their end zone. But it was because Gunnar can pull the ball in zone because he basically has that liberty to do so. Chauncey Bowens, a lot of people are asking about him. Chauncey was dealing with a leg injury, but it wasn't enough to cost him. So that's the reason why you saw a little bit more Nate Frazier, Josh McRae. It's obviously that Josh McRae is getting an uptick in his attempts, and that's good. I like to see that. A big back that can be a change of pace kind of guy that obviously is going to go out there, and he seems to be improving as the time goes on with it as well, and I like to see that too. Like I said, just adds more depth to the room. I really feel bad for Roderick Robinson as we move forward with him as well. I think Roderick Robinson is someone that's unfortunately fallen down through the depths just due to his injury. He can't stay healthy. So don't feel bad about Chauncey. I think Chauncey's just trying to get healthy, and that probably helped him not getting as many carries as he normally gets in order to help Nate out, who definitely needs those carries to supersede what he had started at the beginning of the season. And of course, with the fumble history that he's had, I think that was good for Nate to see that. But, you could tell Auburn had dedicated themselves to stop the run, because who typically runs the ball better and who stops the run better wins this ball game. And unfortunately, that was sort of a null between both of them. The displacement between the runs of their quarterbacks as well as the running backs really didn't offset the actual difference of this game. What offset the difference of this game was the fact of us being able to take care of 3rd and 4th down situational offensive schemes in the second half, being able to convert, continue the drive, and to, like I said, take a team that was dominating us completely in the first half and flip that script in the second half. Colby Young and Zachariah Branch, and I don't have London Humphreys on here as well, but I can't speak enough about what they did for us during those times when we had the long drive, the death march during the 8.5 minutes, for them to be able to convert, with key receptions, key possession receptions. You don't understand when you're bringing a lot of edge pressure, ladies and gentlemen, it's essential to throw the screens. That's why you saw a lot of fast screen and jailbreak screen outside. Colby Young was a benefactor of it. Zachariah Branch was a benefactor of it. Even Cash Jones out of the backfield was a benefactor of it. You've got to basically nullify the edge rush and what they're bringing off the edge with that type of play. And that's the reason why we had success. So all those people who hate the screenplays don't realize how essential it is into the total composition of your offensive scheme. Yes, it is an extension of your run game. Okay? But it's also a huge neutralizer against teams that rush really hard off the edge or bring apex pressure from different areas, off the number 2 receiver, walking them down and bringing them. When you have that kind of play, and that's what Auburn brought a lot. They brought the nickel a lot, 2 or 3 times against us that we couldn't account for because he came from such a wide distance into B gap. And we missed him a couple of times that caused us pressure or caused us to have to hurry up or flush us out of the pocket as we go. I do agree. Freeze ran out of new plays after the first couple of series. That's something that an offensive coordinator does. They'll come up with all this new stuff that they want to run as a wrinkle against the defense. And then after that, they're back to square one of what they did, because in the second half, they were trying to run some of those same plays. That failed 4th down conversion that they actually converted on in the first half is because we snuffed it out the second time. And then all of a sudden, they started running that QB power read to the other side, which was very odd as well. I will definitely agree with you, Dog 85. Freeling was the offensive guys. He's playing about 75%. He was playing with a busted wheel. Hughley was not getting it done. Micah Morris is playing with basically 85, 90%. And Monroe Freeling comes in and on a busted leg, man, is just doing everything he can out there grinding. You can just see him trying to hop around on every play that he is having to take on 15. And 15 brought the house every time. Excellent pass rusher. Bo Hughley didn't have enough ass to handle him. And that's the reason why we saw him come in. And not only did he come in, he had a hell of a game. He only played one half. and was notarized as one of the players of the week for I think the SEC groupings. Whoever the voters are for that voted him as one of the SEC players of the week. Don't let Dylan throw another pass. Great call, could have broken the game open early. I don't know if you realize this or not, but Dylan was he threw the ball to Rosemary Jackson in the Tennessee game on the reverse. They had run that play a bunch of times, and you could tell that they had run it when we ran it against Kentucky, where Dylan had the 2 touchdowns, that they had a pass play off of that, and they ran it from a different perspective. So not only that, they have it about 3 or 4 different variations, because in this case, Zachariah was the guy off of this. In the Kentucky game, it was London Humphreys and Oscar Delp off of this. So it's like a counter boot action that they have with that as well that I thought was really cool to do that. But yeah, he didn't really kind of set himself, and he should have just, shot put that thing out there, but he let the ball sail. But that's something that he don't do all the time, so I can understand it. It definitely makes you slap your head when you see it, but I definitely feel like it was a good play call. With that being said, Roger, welcome in, buddy. Go Dogs, the tale of two halves, no doubt. Got Star Wars Dog. Hey, y'all, what's going on? Appreciate you being in here with me tonight. Blind Squirrel Sports 8429. Good call, Chris. Heard Freeze mention something about Auburn not having success running some plays versus same looks in second half during his press conference today. It's something that is really unique to see, that if you have a good defense that adapts through a game, plays that work in the first half don't work in the second half, or they're not as successful because you've seen it. You may run it out of a little bit of a different variation of a different offensive set, but it's still the same play. And I think they did a really good job of handling that as the game went on. But anyhow, the mic's hot, probably because I'm standing too close to it, buddy. I'm sorry. Apologize for that. So if I am a little hot, then y'all can turn me down. I apologize if it's a little hot. But anyhow, Kobe Young, Zachariah Branch, again, London Humphreys is another guy that I really was very pleased with, seeing them convert in the third and fourth and situationals, especially in the second half. Those guys are definitely going to be someone that we want to see down the road doing the same thing. It was very nice to finally get Noah Thomas. We have a Noah Thomas sighting for an explosive. That's something that adds just another bit of an arsenal to what we want to do. And if our pass pro can start solidifying itself with the 5 that we got, guys, there's a lot of special things happening there. But Oscar Delp continues to work well to get open. Unfortunately, he had a couple that were underthrown to him from Stockton. But still, nonetheless, I was proud to see what he's done and what he's accomplishing as we've looked at the last couple of weeks. They have come up with an idea. Let's get the ball to the tight ends, and the tight ends are doing their job of getting open. Elias Williams, I loved it on the slot fade. I mean, he's going to start making that catch, ladies and gentlemen. We just got to continue to give him opportunities with pass attempts. But my 2 linemen are Dontrell Glover and Monroe Freeling, as you said a while ago with Monroe Freeling. I mean, for him to come in and do what he did was special. And I can't say enough about Dontrell Glover. Guys, this is a true freshman, him and Juan Gaston. There's actually a play. I don't know if I have it as part of my breakdown or not, but he is essentially, those 2 are growing up in front of us, and they're growing up fast. Their football IQ is off the chart. It's just off the chart. They have grown so much in 5, 6 now ball games that it's honestly, they're playing like seasoned vets right now. If they can stay healthy, they have been an added asset to our offensive line, and it's truly appreciated from my perspective watching them. So that's on the offensive side. Now, when you go to the next group, defensively, C.J. Allen, without a doubt. I think C.J. Allen, Monroe is still hurt. I think got a question there. Monroe's still hurt, though, isn't he? He is. He's going to be dealing with an ankle injury. When you're 15 to 330 pounds, you're going to be dealing with an ankle issue is really tough to overcome because that's one of the most unstable joints anyway, just for someone who's not a large human like he is. So, his treatment is going to be important this week. I doubt very seriously that he's had a lot of reps this week. I would say that he's trying to heal and stay off of it and get stronger and take some mental reps. But, also, too, he's got to get out there and get after it as well to get acclimated to it. I do agree with you on that. Dog 54229, O-line getting better with pass pro, especially in the second half. Guys, there's some stuff that, Micah Morris let us down a few times, some of the ones that I actually had looked at. But I'm telling you, there's some plays with Dontrell and Juan that screwed up a lot of pass pros at the beginning of the year, and now they're passing off X stunts like seasoned veterans. It's unreal. I hope I actually have that play in my breakdowns. But C.J. Allen's been hearing the whispers about how Justin Williams is supposed to be out there, should be taking some reps from him. Where's C.J. Allen at? Well, C.J. Allen definitely let us know who he was on Saturday night. Came out with a vengeance, playing good football, solid football in the first half. Just wasn't around the football as much as you'd like to see. But in the second half, he made his purpose in that second half to be there and do a great job. I was really excited to see him not only have the tackle for the losses, obviously, and then the sack on the simulated pressure play, but there were some great things from him that really made me just say, you know what? He is our freaking Mike linebacker. And that's something I want to be able to see. When you get done with a game and you're watching film, like, I want to look on that defense and say, that's my Mike linebacker. Now, Justin Williams, who I think I actually have him on the screen there as well, guys, he's electric. He doesn't have the ass that C.J. Allen has, but by God, his speed and his attention to detail and how cerebral he is puts him around the football on every play. He has got relentless effort to the football. He has a high IQ and a high motor. And when he's on the field, he makes plays. In fact, he makes some plays that I don't know if C.J. Allen makes. But those two together, along with Raylan, phenomenal job from that group. Kristen Miller, and this guy a lot of people don't know about, Josh Horton, number 81, is a transfer portal kid from Miami. And I actually have some breakdowns on my Twitter X where I show you not only a good pass rush technique, but finally I see a good run rush technique where he extends and shucks that guy, gets off of him with aggressive hands, extension, and gets to the ball carrier. That's something I knew that I was beginning to see in his ability was his run game play. But then all of a sudden I watched a couple more and I'm like, wait a minute, that's a pass rush right there from basically playing the inside four tech. All right. Inside eye of the tackle. So very excited to see what Josh Horton brings as we move forward, because I think he's someone that can definitely help us going forward. Based on how Ole Miss defense is playing, Harbley, do you believe Bo Hughley can play good that game? Honestly, I think Bo Hughley is still someone that we have to count on. I just think, unfortunately, 15 from Auburn's a really good football player, and I really felt like Bo was going to have to play an unbelievably good football game in order to, keep him off our quarterback. Gunner has the ability to scramble, make some miss a couple of times. There was a couple of times where he had to, get the ball out quicker than he wanted to. And then there was one outright sack that they took, but it was Michael Morris's guy that got the sack. And Bo had his guy, delayed an extra second, but his guy would have gotten there too. But that's the reason why Monroe Freeland came in, because they just couldn't handle the breakdowns in that. With that being said, so, Josh Horton and Kristen Miller, Kristen Miller is the staple, doing a phenomenal job. We saw him in flashes. What I love is that he's not being moved. He's creating basically a two-gap potential for people to make tackles. And you're not going to see anything in his stats. I mean, he's got 5 total tackles, but he does so much for the defensive line, and he's continuing to be that steady person that's holding up the line for other people to get there and doing his job as a defensive lineman. Quintavious Johnson is growing, but he's still got to make some progress, especially in taking on pullers. I definitely have seen him improve in his pass rush, but there's some other things that he could get better at as we move forward. And then, of course, Chris Jones is another one that I really want to see improve. He's beginning to show that twitch that I like to see from a pass rush perspective, but he's also like Quintavious. He's taking guards in the chest, and he's got to work on, the concept of how they want to box it. And I've seen him do it essentially well a few times, and then also he's taking it in the chest a few times. But that comes with reps. That comes with live reps in the SEC, that he's going to get better at that, because right now their pass rush potential is very high, and I'm beginning to see some good things from both of those guys, especially with Quintavious in the run game, and of course with Chris in the passing game as well. So that's my take from the defensive side of the ball. There's not really anybody in the secondary that I would say, but if I was starting my secondary for the University of Georgia tomorrow, this is who I would have. Just based off film work, just based off what I've seen. I would love for, if we go dime, Kyron Jones is our dime package. Okay, he comes in for dime. But if we're going to play our 4-2-5 nickel, basically, which is what we're in, 5 DBs, I would love to see Janelle Aguero get moved back to strong safety and play opposite of KJ. I've watched enough film now that Janelle Aguero can play the strong safety position, similar to what Dan Jackson played last year. Dalen Everett would be your boundary corner. Ellis Robinson would be your field corner. Okay. And then you're going to have DeMelo Jones at the star. That's just my 2 cents worth, what I see, what I love about it. I would love to see this secondary right here. Let's see. Got our K&P will keep us in all these close games, and I hope we'll win one before it's over. I have to agree with that. Special teams is something that Kirby's always prided himself on. 1/3 of the game is special teams, and that's something that a lot of people lose sight in when they're doing it. I think from my perspective, there's at least one special teams play a game that's a turning point in a situation, whether it be a punt, to coughing corner kick somebody, or a field goal that gets missed versus made. A lot of things that go into play with special teams. I think it's important that we keep that in perspective. But again, this is my defensive secondary. If we had this secondary, this is what we played, I wouldn't mind this look right here. But Janelle's going to continue to play the star. We're going to have Kyron Jones and Ja'Cory Thomas playing the strong safety positions. But I just love DeMelo Jones' aggressiveness. I love the way he plays that position. I think he would be great to cover number twos, but I think he also has the Tyke Smith mentality, where he's going to come up and make tackles and do a good job as a hybrid type corner DB that also basically plays like a Sam linebacker. I think he fits that mold very well. But this is just my 2 cents worth on that. We go into the stats of the game. We start talking about the game itself. The passing yards of 217 to 137. Auburn's offense has been downright awful. It's been anemic. And everybody says, well, if you get to play Georgia's defense, typically that's where offenses come to thrive. And for the first about, I'd say, quarter and a half, they did pretty much thrive. But the one thing that's going to continue to show to me the resilience of our football team is what Gunnar Stockton does day in and day out. He's careful with the football. He's a surgeon when it comes to the fact of making the right plays. And what I love to see in him, a lot more pre-snap stuff that I see where he knows where he wants to go with the football the minute he gets the ball in his hands. And that's good stuff, man. When you're already ready to throw the football the minute you receive it, and then it comes off because somebody makes an adjustment and covers the area you think is open, and then you have to progress off of that to your second, third, and fourth reads, and he's beginning to see those things. Yeah, does he need to work on layering his throw? Sure. Does he need to continue to work on when he scrambles out from the pocket and keep his eyes downfield for people that are coming up to him where he can dump it over the top of their heads? Yes. But I see improvement every week. Something that we've talked about that he's lacking has been improved every week. He did lead the team in rushing yards, but we struggled running the football. But I think Auburn had dedicated themselves to stopping the run. They're not a bad defensive unit, ladies and gentlemen. They established themselves to stop the run. So what we basically did is we extended the running game outside the tackle box. That's the reason why you saw a heavy dose of jailbreak screens and fast screens to Zachariah Branch, Kobe Young, even out to Cash Jones on flare routes and flame routes, things of that nature. Quick stuff where the linebackers were being replaced from. It's good to see Zach Branch doing a good job. Can't tell you what a big deal it was for those guys to convert those third and fourth downs later in the game. Him and Colby and London making some key clutch catches in the second half to extend drives. And, of course, the big, nail in the coffin there at the end of the game of the 8.5 minute drive that we had. CJ Allen leading the team in tackles with 10. I had questioned him. I began to wonder if he was the right guy for the job. I wanted to see him show up in a mighty way, and he did. And I think he's heard those whispers enough now where I don't think I'm going to have an issue going forward to know who C.J. Allen is and that he is our might linebacker and that he is going to do a good job for us going forward. Because, he's capable of it. We know that. I know that there's a way for him to improve his craft and continue to get better as well with Raylan as those two guys. And Justin Williams, when he comes in, is just like another running back coming in for the primary running back, just to change a pace person that nothing changes when they're on the field. So, C.J. Allen showing up in a mighty way was really good. And to hold Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman to the yardage we held them to defensively from the defensive back perspective was even more of a nice surprise that I was really proud of with these guys. So, very, very excited for them. Total stats, to me, this is where you look at we took over in the total yards. The one big turnover from Auburn that Auburn fans are never going to admit is a turnover. First down margin, penalties. If you think about it, if realistically, if you want to add injury to insult Auburn fans, let's just go ahead and take this perspective. We should have had a touchdown off of that fumble because first off, it was a fumble. The ball is moving before he even puts the ball out. Okay, it's moving before he even puts the ball out. Raylan punches it and lodges it out, and CJ ends up putting it out of its misery. Kyron Jones picks the ball up on top of the pile. He's not touching the ground, picks it up, and turns around and runs it in. So to add injury to insult Auburn fans, it should have been a touchdown for Georgia. How it's a dead ball, and we're on the 1 yard line, and you have to let us drive 80 some odd yards to kick a field goal on your stupidity because you're feeling sorry for yourself. You haven't been there before. You're showing your ass and you're doing all sorts of dumb stuff to get penalties thrown on you to lead us down the field to give us 3 points for the end of the half. So adding injury to insult, you made us work for some points at the end instead of us getting the 7 points we should have deserved out of that realistically, regardless of what you think of it being a fumble or not a fumble. But third down conversions, a lot of your third down conversions were in the first half. Our third down conversions, those 5 that we had and the 2 that we had on fourth down, were critical in the second half to extend drives for us in order to win ball games. And, of course, time of possession. So if you look at all those things, you say, well, Auburn dominated you in the game. Yeah, they dominated us for a quarter and a half. But last I heard, you play 4 quarters. And when you play 4 quarters, you'll notice that quantitatively, if you look at the numbers here, there's a lot of things that we dominated you in or either superseded you in, necessarily didn't dominate you in, but had the better numbers when it was all said and done at the end of 4 quarters because y'all didn't show back up in the second half. Y'all were defeated, didn't circle the wagons, couldn't get over the call that was made at the end of the half or right before the end of the half, and that's what cost you. That was the difference of the ball game. Y'all came out deflated and defeated. And unfortunately, we didn't. As a team, UGA did not come out as a deflated team. They came out ready to go, thriving, wanting to get after it, realizing what they needed to do to get better. And so that's unfortunate going forward. I look at all the different stats that we have here. The one thing that I see that's really big is there's no interceptions thrown from our standpoint. So Gunner goes through another game without an interception. Of course, yards per pass, 5.7. I thought he was going to throw it at least 40 times, as many screens as he was throwing out there. He almost got up to 38 throws. But, of course, his passing yardage was about 217 yards off 24 attempts. So that means you just real quick throws, very similar to what we've been used to seeing from him. But they're throws that mattered. They counted. Every throw that he made was calculated and done very well. I say you bring back about 3 throws that he had to the tight ends over the middle were probably the only 3 throws that I wish we could have had back that he could have completed because they were there. Elias Williams was a 50-50 ball. I'm good to see that and glad to see those things going forward. Now, I wanted to show you real quick as we move into my defensive segment here. I'm going to move some stuff around here so that I can get everything set up. I want to be able to share my screen with you, and we're going to go through some plays here. And I'm going to put these in here real quick. See if we can get these to play. Move this over. All right. Now, this is in the second half, and this is something that I'd actually put on Twitter X the other day. What I loved about this is what was causing us so much problems in the game itself when we started the first half. If you look on the front, we've got Rabbit package in. You've only got 1 true down lineman in right now. All right. You've got Elamadozzi standing up. You got Gabe standing up. You've got Chris Cole standing up. You got CJ. You got Raylan. You got KJ all down in the box right now. And they're doing all this pre-snap movement, and this was what was causing us a lot of our issues. What I love about it and what I see out of this right here is that not one of our guys flinches. Everybody knows their position. Everybody knows their responsibility, and nobody is flinching on all this pre-snap motion. And then what happens at the last second, we get a nice little run through off this simulated pressure, and CJ comes right through. The guard never sees him, and we get a TFL right there. That was a big play for us, but I love the fact that we did not flinch in that play. I was talking about Josh Horton. Josh Horton to me is someone that I'm excited about. If you'll see here, I've got him circled on the screen. And Josh Horton is someone that has got to help us improve on the defensive line. But I wanted to show you here his abilities off of a run scheme. Watch him take this guy, use his hands, and pull him. I call that a shuck or a punch press. You punch him, you grab him, extend, and pull him. All right? And when you pull him, you replace him. So it's a beautiful play right there, beautiful play design. Love what I see out of that right there to try to get to the ball carrier, all while Christian Miller is standing up his guard as well. Just a really good job by your guards right there on this play. By your guard defenders. You got Horton basically playing what's called a 3 technique, and you got Christian Miller playing a 2-eye. So this would be more of an overset, what you would call out of the mint front. And I just love what I see out of him here. Now, on the other play, if I have another one, I don't think I have the other play. It's just that one play right there. So, like what I'm seeing out of Josh Horton. All right. Now, this is the play that I wanted to show you guys real quickly, that even though this is a good play for Auburn, this is something that I would love to see. And I've called this every time when I want to see the first play from scrimmage. This was something that we did with A.D. Mitchell a lot. All right. What they're going to run is what's called an ISO insert. So it looks like ISO up front. You've got the H-back. He's folding down inside, and it looks like they're running the ISO right here. But this is an RPO where your top receiver is just running the 5-yard hitch. Now, we've run this before, but we make it look like gap scheme. We'll pull the guard and the tackle or the guard and the H-back and make it look like it's gap scheme going right, and then we'll throw it to the top guy up there. We did it against Michigan in the Orange Bowl. We threw it to A.D. Mitchell on a play very similar to this. But I love the call concept because this is, you're reading where the corner's going. He sees the corner bailing, so this is an easy 5-yard hitch. And this is something I would love us to do to Kobe Young or to Noah Thomas. I think this would be a great play call on first down. It puts you in front of the chains. It holds linebackers, and it puts you one-on-one outside with your corner. So this is, think going forward, little gap scheme RPO off of this. Would love to see it. All right. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but Alabama ran the same play. Let me see if I've actually got the play in here. Yeah, I do. All right, this is the week before, weeks ago, playing Alabama. And this was a play that we definitely don't like to see because this was a conversion on third down that basically sealed the game for them. But they're going to get trips to the left or trips to the top here. And your tight end is nubbed on the bottom side. Your tight end is going to run the release off. So basically, you've got nobody from the numbers outside of the sideline. And they're running the play action across with the running back. Now, unfortunately, we bring C.J. out on this. Running back comes out. But it's a wide open play. Now, guys, I'm going to say this. Offensive coordinators, we steal stuff from one another. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure that Coach Bobo probably has something similar to this, but there is no doubt to me that we took this play call right here and we did it ourselves. If you watch it, it's out of a little bit of a different formation. All right. So what you're going to see here is you're going to see Kobe Young is basically the tight end taking his guy on a 9 route, getting him out of the picture. There comes Nate Frazier across the formation. There's the trips up top, just like Alabama has. We're going to fake the fast screen to Zachariah to pull people, and then we're going to boot out of that to throw. And it's the same play. So we kind of used somebody else's offensive scheme, just took it to our own play scheme out of our playbook to have some success and, of course, convert a first down out of that situation. This is something I think we're getting better and better at. And I really think it's important for people to understand this. Gunner is beginning to realize, you know what? I have the ability to pre-snap read this. So what you're going to get down at the bottom is what I call 68 Z stick. So the tight end is going to run the vertical. He's the high guy. So I'm going to show you all 3 of them real quick. You got 3 levels. Delp is the high guy. Okay. You've got Dylan Bell's going to be the stick guy. And what you're doing is you're looking at the flat force defender and see what he does. If he sits inside, the F-back is who you throw to. Okay. So right now, Nate should be getting the football if he went to the 68 Z stick side, because Delp's your high, Dylan's your mid, and Nate's running the arrow route. And God love him, he can't get out of his own way. He trips over his own feet and falls down because he's going so fast. But he would have been the guy to get the football in this play right here. We run this play a lot. We used to run it with Lab McConkey a lot. But what he sees is up top is we've got a rub with a slant right here. So we're going to run kind of sluggo concept, the slant under the go, because what's going to happen is Kobe's going to create sort of a natural screen on his guy like this to rub, and then that allows the inside slant. And Gunner sees I see this too. He sees this top side edge guy coming off the edge, and we got this all day, guys. That's the reason why we run so many fast screens. We were running these screens because there was so much edge pressure coming off of what we see right here. What's happening with Bo Hughley? What's happening right here? Just the 5-man pressure. We saw this all day. All right. So we're taking advantage, and this is where I would go with it as well. This is why Gunner Stockton is improving. He has 68 Z-stick on the bottom, but he decides to go with a stack up top, and it's the right play to Zachariah Branch for a very good play to put us ahead of the chains, third and manageable, or possibly first down, depending on where the line judge puts it at. So I love his pre-snap recognition and getting better and understanding of where to go with the football because of cerebrally understanding where your pressure is coming from. Next play. Let's see what we get here. This is the Elias Williams 50-50 ball. Guys, we need to do this at least 2 to 3 times a game. I don't care if it's with Kobe. I don't care if it's with Noah. I don't care if it's with Elias. You should be able to, in situational concepts, where we get them in as a number 2 receiver, where you either flip-flop and you put them in yip motion, bring them inside to the number 2, and run the slot fade from this. And I think Gunner puts in a good spot. I definitely like this against a cover 1 high, because if you look at the guy that's in the middle of the field right now, there's no way he can get to that slot fade being in a cover 1. So I definitely like it with a 1 high safety look. So if you've got a team that runs a lot of 1 high safety, it's definitely something that could fit that. And I'm going to tell you this, guys. Elias is going to eventually catch this football. I think put it in a good spot. Elias has got to learn to settle down and just put his foot in the ground and be able to come back and make this play. But eventually, over time, having these guys in these number 2s or being lined up as number 1s, where you could go dart over here, put your H on the line, bring your X off the line, and run X-ray back inside to give him as the number 2, and you get basically, you could sell it. There's so many different things that you could do out of this. But bottom line is getting that number 2 on the slot fade is what you want out of this. And in this case, I am perfectly fine with us taking a shot here with 10. He's going to eventually learn to come down with those footballs, guys, as he gets better and improves. So next here, guys, this is the play that I've been telling you about that I wanted to show you. This is called, let me explain it to you real quick. Up top, you basically, this is after all the pre-snap motion is taking place. All right. The number 3 receiver is coming across. All right. In what I call laser motion. So what we're doing is we're reading Quintavious Johnson, number 33. All right. Quintavious, because he's on the jack side, is responsible for dive. He's thinking, okay, I'm getting a down block, so I'm squeezing the down, and I've got to take the guard. Notice nobody's blocking him. He is the read key. Jackson is reading him. So if he steps down inside, he's handing the ball off on the sweep, all right, which he does. Now, if Quintavious were to sit outside, which we do later in the game with Chris Jones, now he's going to pull it and follow it up inside with his guard. Okay, this is called a Q power read. So your H back that's connected to your tackle down here, as well as your F back, are going to block what's out on the force and the next level. Now Raylan should be, in this case, I think that's Chris Cole, not Raylan. I was thinking that was Raylan, but it's Chris Cole. Chris Cole takes a very poor angle at this ball. All right, Quinn is your dive player. Chris Cole is your quarterback player to pitch. So he's working B outside to C. Dalen Everett, we're in cover 2, is your pitch player. So what he's got to do is come up and take this tight end on a lot quicker, blow him up, and condense that gap, which he does none of it. What I have noticed is that when you run a power Q read and give it on the jet sweep to the jack side, we have no force run support if we're not in cover 4 or cover 1. I don't understand with that motion why we didn't remove KJ out to Jacory's spot, and Jacory should have been flying downhill like right now. Like flying downhill between Dalen Everett, between Chris Cole to fit that alley right there. Okay. KJ can replace a cross. That's something that if they're really prevalent in doing that, I don't understand why, because you've only got 2 receivers left to the top side and one is ineligible. So we got 3 guys over 2 guys and one of them can't even release on a route. So that's the reason why it's important for me to see why we don't rotate this right here. But this was a play that really gave us fits in the first half because we have no force support and we're making plays at 15 yards deep. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, this was a play that I really wish we could have run a little bit better. This is gap scheme. So what you have over on the left-hand side is you're going to have Lawson Lucky stepping out to block 17, and it really screws up Micah's pull because everybody that's to the left, center guard and tackle, are blocking down. So they're blocking to our right. But because Lawson goes out and takes the edge, now Micah is thinking, okay, I'm supposed to go kick him out. And now all of a sudden I'm having to block a guy that's basically as a 5 technique. So now I missed him. So the person that ends up, what should happen is that I would love for Lawson Lucky to block down on 24, Micah to kick out 17, and Delp should be wrapping up to 9. But they're bringing this. I think this was a screw on Georgia's part. I really do think that they decided to let Delp try to pull from the tight end position. But even with the counter step that Nate gives right here, he's still getting the football before Delp can get across. So really, he's screwing up the play because he's in the way. So again, this is not a very good formation to run right here. I love gap scheme, but if they're going to block it, I think you need to stick traditional blocking. Play side, all blocks down, let Micah kick out 17, and let Delp fit inside. Because right there, if you have Lucky blocking 24 down and Micah kicking out 17, now you've got Delp wrapping to 9, and now you're one-on-one with 8 there, Mr. Nate. So, just not a very good gap scheme concept. I wish we could have run it a little bit differently, but it screws up everything because you can see Micah not knowing where he needed to go on that play because of Lucky stepping out. So I don't know if that's a bad play for Lucky, if he blocked it wrong, or if that's what they intended to block it and they just didn't do it. All right, this was the play I'm telling you about that I wanted to show you, and I'm glad I put this in here. I want you to watch first off on the right-hand side. Watch Dontrell Glover and Juan Gaston. What we have here is called a Louis call. We've identified the mic as 0. So you've got Bobo, Micah Morris, and Bo Hughley working 0 to the left. So those 3 guys. Glover and Gaston are working the 2 guys to the right. All right, so the guy that's on the inside shoulder for Gaston is going to end up being, and then the guy that's standing up in the wide 9 are going to be, however they come to them is who they're going to take. And they run a delay X stunt. And see, earlier in the year, Dontrell chased this. And then the guy that came back on the X, he never saw him. And he was head up going straight to Gunnar Stockton here. Watch them take this X stunt like pros. Guys, that's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous on this pass pro right here. This is 2 true freshmen who have grown up over 6 games where they were chasing that earlier. Juan Gaston was allowing the guy to get off of him and run the hoop, and Dontrell was chasing that delay down inside and allowing that X stunt guy to get inside and have free reign to the quarterback. They picked this up like veterans, guys. Beautiful stuff. Chauncey is out on this. Now, where we screw this up at is Micah Morris. We're working to the left here on a Louis call. So what Micah's got to do is pass that guy off to Bobo that he has connected. He sees 0 making the late push on the fire. Now, he may say, I don't know, this could be coaching and saying, listen, that's on Gunnar to get rid of the football. But I see a 4-receiver progression, 5-receiver progression. Chauncey's going out right here. So this is one of those where he's wanting to go through his reads. He's beginning to look off, I think, as he's looking where he's throwing the football. If that's the case, Micah's got to come off his guy and let Bobo take his guy over and him take care of 0. But he doesn't. He lets him run right by and takes the shot right here. But you can also see Bo Hughley is struggling with 15. 15 abused him pretty much all night. And it's just really, it's something, he's not going to out-strengthen you from just strongman perspective because he doesn't have enough ass. So he's going to have to out-technique you. He's a little high. I'd like to see him a little lower. But right here, that's just strength. That's something that we say, well, we can't have him out there if he can't do it. Well, yeah, you can. He can get better in his technique, not allow him to get into his body the way he does right here, and then he just doesn't have enough ass to hold him up. Okay? But again, he's doing enough to where if Micah comes off and takes 0, now Gunnar can step up in the pocket right towards the hash right now, and now he's got a free running lane, or he's got the ability to establish maybe one more second in the pocket to make a throw to his 3rd or 4th progression. But instead, because of that, we end up taking the sack on this, and 1 sack of the night that we took. But again, just kudos to Juan Gaston and Dontrell Glover taking that on right there. Very nice, very nice. So let you see the sack again. Unfortunately, I hate to see that for the bad guys there. So, all right. And that is every bit of my plays that I have done. Guys, it's been awesome to have you guys as part of the huddle tonight. I've been going for almost an hour. I'm glad that you're here with me tonight. I've had a lot of people that have come in to say hello, who have put your chats in the comments section. I do know that there is a lot of good things, good vibes going into this week. Obviously, a win is a win. It's not necessarily the prettiest win, but we're continuing to see our program grow and get better and develop. And all I can ask for is us continue to be on the higher end of those numbers that are on the scoreboard at the end of the night, no matter what we have to do to accomplish it. I do want to take some questions. I was going to go back up here through some of the comments that I had with that. Let's see. Georgia Dog 54229, O-line getting better with pass pro, especially in the second half. I definitely agree with you on that. I think we'd actually hit on that. Let's see some other people here. I like this year's team so much better than last year's, regardless of how we finish. Amen, brother. I think, when it comes to that kind of deal, I think there's I can't even tell you how excited I am. I loved coaching in games like we played Saturday. Most fans are going to tell you, oh my God, I couldn't stand it. It drove me nuts. I love coaching in adversity. I love to see what my team could do and respond to the different things that were happening in the game. Those kind of games were so fun to coach in. And I can't tell you how excited I was for it, because I am all for the fact of just being in these kind of games so that our team can get better from it. They're going to be massively resilient with roots in the ground and good to go. From that perspective, our guys are getting a little bit better each game, as Kirby wants. Far from perfect, but better. And I'm going to tell you, the parity in college football nowadays, we're going to see games like that all year long. And for here on out, there's not going to be these 40-0 blowouts that we're used to seeing from the championship years. Gunner's making throws that he was hesitant to make in earlier games. I agree, and that comes from pre-snap cog, where he is actually recognizing what he wants before he even gets the ball from the center. That's getting better. If there's two things I think he's improved on, he's extended the pocket a lot more for himself to get balls off, gaining himself an extra second in the pocket, and he's keeping his eyes downfield when he scrambles more. He needs to work on his layered throws, because there's three that I would love for him to have back from the tight end position as well. Excuse me. Excuse me. I knew I was going to sneeze. Kobe is going to be a gig factor down the stretch, in my opinion. I bet you wanted to say a big factor. There's no doubt. Kobe, Zachariah, London, Noah. Those four guys can be basically the root system of our wide receiver room. And there's not one guy 1 week versus the other where all four of them have to go out and have 50-yard games, but have that catch that's so pivotal in a game, that extend drives, that complete the series, whatever it may be, that we're going, man, I'm glad he's on our team. And I'm going to tell you, I watched at the Kentucky game, because I was at the Kentucky game. And, I thought to myself, because Noah had not been targeted very much. And I'm sitting there wondering how Noah's, like, what's his dispositions like on the sideline, like watching him wander around the sideline. And I'm going, what is he like? Is he a bitter kid? Is he sitting there underneath the canopy with a towel over his head? He is not any of that, guys. He goes out and he is the biggest cheerleader for everybody that's out there. You can tell that you love what you see in his character out there. And obviously for him to contribute on the explosive play where he sets up that first touchdown of the second half on the Chauncey Bowen's run, where he has the explosive over the middle on the crosser. I think it's something like 30-something yard gain. But for him to have that catch was so huge, because to me that just sets up more and more for us to see them shine. Going forward, thank you, Coach. Appreciate it, Dog 85. I appreciate your contributions to the huddle tonight. Trey Anastasio, Coach, how much of the first half D struggles as OCs have figured out our scheme, and how much as players just have to execute? Thanks for the great content. I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. You have young pieces of the puzzle. Like, there's 11 guys on defense, but 5 of them are seeing their first. They're 5-6 games deep, guys. 5-6 games deep in SEC play. 5-6 games deep in any college level play. Things are coming at you a million miles a minute. What I call it is the matrix effect. When I watched kids grow up from their sophomore through their senior year as a high school player, and they were a good football player, I always noticed that in their sophomore year, they made mental mistakes because it was the lack of execution, because they were thinking too much. There was hesitancy in the game. And you remember in the story of Neo in the Matrix, when he finally learned that he was the one, how he could just basically slow down time completely. And that's what I think happens as you grow with scheme, as you grow with reps, is that it slows down. It's not coming at you a million miles a minute. You have the ability to adapt quicker because you're thinking before the play is even snapped, and you already cerebrally are where you need to be at because you're not having to think, you're just reacting. And defense is reaction. I've always said you can't be fast and confused at the same time. And sometimes I feel like some of our younger guys are the ones that are confused, and it's not allowing them to play fast. That completely changed in the second half because I think we had good adjustments first off, but I think there was a challenge as well that gave the momentum to us in the second half, and we didn't look like the same team in the first half. They're going to have to work on adapting quicker is the issue, where you have 11 guys adapting quicker, because there's 5 or 6 of them that have got plenty of play under their belt. Kristen Miller, even Chris Cole, Raylan Wilson, C.J. Allen, Dalen Everett. Those guys have seen plenty of ball. But when you've got 5 or 6 others that are trying to take that on as quickly as they have, that's what's different about the whole situation. And I think while we're seeing some fragmented plays that are costing us those third down conversions, even some fourth down conversions, but over time we're growing. And what I'm hoping for is in that improvement that somehow, some way we begin to see those lapses in the window of the first quarter, second quarter of not being able to play solid defense and allowing teams to basically move down the field and be successful. That gets lesser and lesser as we move. And that's the sign of a good football team. That's a really good sign of a good football team. 225 girl, definitely appreciate you being in here with me tonight. It's always a go Dogs with you. Appreciate your support with us at Coach Hayes Hudl. You probably have noticed when you look at up top, I have the Patreon symbol here. I have started putting all of my material into one hub. So my head on a swivel, all of my breakdowns, all of my logistics, everything that I talk about with Coach Hayes Hudl is in one place now. It is a free membership. I know Patreon is something that you can pay for. I will gladly have material that's in the paid for part, but there's also free material in there for you as well, including some of the breakdowns, some of the remarks that I make, some of the X's and O's design, just different things. I do stuff on recruiting. I do a lot of material that goes with the game analysis and stats that go with that. But my main focus is what I'm good at, which is understanding X's and O's and trying to connect fans to the fundamentals of football, which is what my mantra is. But anyhow, let's see. Trey Anastate, that's a great comparison. Awesome. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. It's always important to try to connect fans any way I can to help you understand it better. I will explain it this way. Coach Smart and staff are doing a great job with these kids. They are in a different paradigm. Even from 2021 and 2022, the 2025 season of college football is completely different than what it was, all right, in that time when we were watching our team blow out everybody and just completely annihilate teams. The parity in college football has changed so much due to the transfer portal, due to NIL, due to basically coaching staffs having to re-recruit their own team every year and build with freshmen that are growing at just an unbelievable pace. The amount of college freshmen coming in, true freshmen that are playing, is going to exponentially grow. We see it right now in what we've got in our left guard and our right guard and right tackle. Heck, look at Elijah Griffin. He should be out there playing and contributing because he was a 5-star kid. He was highly touted, but that doesn't mean necessarily that you get your start. But we see him doing that. There's a lot of opportunities that we're beginning to see from true freshmen, and we're going to just see more and more of that as time goes on because that's what's going to be your depth from here on out. We don't have that loaded depth that we had from 2021 and 2022, and we'll probably never see it again. And that's the reason why it's so frustrating to fans, because we're used to seeing the 2021-2022 group, and that's just not what football's about anymore. Go ahead and prepare yourself to be in these grinders like we've seen against Tennessee and against Auburn and what we dealt with Alabama. Kentucky was a little bit nicer, but you still think about it. It wasn't easy at times in that game. We were still sitting there questioning, going, what's going on here? All right. Those are the kind of games we're going to see. But the beauty of it is Georgia's finding a way to win those ball games. And all that does is make your team better. All that does is help your team improve. All that does is help you get better in your reps. And when you go back out each week, you're improving upon that craft that you're trying to learn and get better at each individual week when you line up shoulder to shoulder with your teammates. So I want to finish with this, and I think I've already played this once. I like this year's team so much better than last year's, regardless of how we finish. I am completely with you. I think that's what makes college football so fun. from a coach's perspective, I'm never going to ride the roller coaster like I saw a lot of my friends in group chat on Saturday night going through. As a coach, you can't do that. You've got to stay even keel. You can never let your kids see defeat in your eyes or any kind of downtrodden bitterness or anything of that nature. You've always got to keep your kids' spirits up. And no matter if there's 1 inch left to play or you've got to go 99 yards, you never let your team see you defeated. And you know what? The difference in that ball game came from a 1 inch play where we cause a fumble, should have had the touchdown, but still take it down the field before the end of the half, kick a field goal, and we completely take a team and unravel it at the seams. And all we do is get stronger as we go. That's a team I can stand behind, and that's a team I'm glad I'm a fan of. Going forward, I appreciate everybody being in here tonight. If you do get a chance, check out the Patreon that I told you about. I guess it would be up here. The Patreon I told you about, it's under my same name at Coach Hayes Hudl. .com, and it's in through X, through all of my social media sites. I do appreciate you being with me tonight. It has been a fun night. Let's see. I got another comment here as well. Wide receivers and running backs just were not going to get there last year. You know, it's important that we understand that this team is just completely different than what we even had last year. And that's something as a coach you can't get bogged down in. I'm not a big stats guy, so I'm not going to look at last year's stats and look at last year's players compared to what we're doing this year. It just doesn't make sense to me. I've got to improve upon the craft of the kids that I've got day in and day out there that are grinding for me at practice, that we're trying to get better to win ball games on Saturday. Is a huge amount of pressure that goes along with being a multimillionaire coaching kids who are making money, and you've got all these expectations to meet. And unfortunately, you're just not ever going to make anybody happy. You got Bobo haters out there continually. Now you got Glenn Schumann haters out there. You don't realize we've got very good coaches on our coaching staff doing a hell of a job, trying their best to make these kids better every week and trying to help them improve and, just improve their performance overall. Hey, I do appreciate that right there. I have, Speak Sports HQ became a member level Hayes Hudl membership. I appreciate that. Appreciate you joining in with me tonight, being a part of the huddle. I have gone over my time. I was trying to stay under an hour tonight, but of course I had a lot of things to talk about. I had some breakdowns to go through. If you don't get a chance to see this entirety through the podcast, you can check me out on X as well as on YouTube for all the breakdowns that I do. And again, join them and become a part of Patreon. I'm going to have a lot of information over there for you through my outlet of breakdowns, X's and O's, all the different material that I put out there from Head on a Swivel. And I truly try to figure out a way to connect fans to the fundamentals of football at any given time that I can. And when you're out here, it makes me highly appreciative of the time that you're with me. As Speak Sports HQ, go Dawgs, I will definitely reciprocate that, give you a go Dawgs as well. As always, it is a pleasure to be with you tonight. Thank you for taking the time of sitting here on the last third of the leg here with me. And I always hope that you come back and revisit with me again. Again, I can't thank Georgia Sports Autographs enough, as they have helped me through the process. As you know, over the top of my head, there's a lot of things that they have done for me as a staff and as a program. We're going to have a private signing in Athens on October the 25th. Got a lot of cool guys coming. If you need to have a chance, check out GeorgiaSportsAutographs.com. They can bring you pretty much anything you want that you want signed to add to your man cave, to your sports paraphernalia. They do a really good job as well. So I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for Georgia football, but I'm definitely excited that you decided to join the huddle tonight with me. As always, take care, God bless, and go Dawgs.